company's monopoly territory is home to 17 million people.
Families already struggle to pay their bills.
PG&E was convicted of 91 felonies.
Really? I mean, what's next?
Greybeard talks solar. He is SolarWise.
Welcome to the Greybeard Tax Solar YouTube channel. This is a place where a little wisdom goes a long way toward turning sunshine into some serious savings for you. And today's show is going to be all about Sunrun. I have a bone to pick. I have an axe to grind. I've got a little chip on my shoulder because I was recently came into being able to review a Sunrun contract for a power purchase program. And let me just say, I was very, very initially annoyed and then frustrated that the industry is doing these types of things. So let me step back a sec, right? So solar doesn't necessarily have the greatest reputation for being honest, forthright, clear with your articulation, great with communication. In other words, solar has had a pretty bad reputation for being an area where sometimes people can be misled and led astray. Let's just put it to you that way. And so what I try to do with this channel and with my radio show I host a radio show on 7 different stations throughout California. And that particular show, called SolarWise, is an attempt by me to provide knowledge, education, resources, wisdom with regard to solar. We are a knowledge first, my company SolarWise, a knowledge first, education first solar brokerage company. And so we try to inform homeowners and educate them on all of the ins and outs of the products and the services available in the solar industry. Now, full disclosure, I do not work with Sunrun. I found them to be one of the most expensive companies out there. I think that they're a big Goliath in solar, obviously, but that makes them slow moving. It makes them costly. It makes them difficult to deal with because, you know, they'll assign 5 people to manage your solar installation, but my experience was those 5 people don't speak to each other. Now, solar's going through some big changes, okay? The end of the 30% federal income tax credit is happening at the end of this year. Effectively, that's happening now. Somewhere in the month of September of 2025, most installers are going to shut down their pipeline for people that want to pay cash or finance solar in expectation of getting the tax credit. So what's going on right now is a lot of solar installers, and this has been happening now for years. But it's accelerating now because of the loss of the tax credit. I believe more and more people will adopt power purchase programs as an alternative to purchasing with cash or financing. And the advantage of a power purchase program is you don't have to pay for the system. There's no debt in your name. Basically, a solar system gets installed at your property with no out-of-pocket cost to you. It's a power plant for your home that you buy energy from instead of buying it from the utility. And because it's made at your house, it's a lot cheaper. You got none of those PG&E delivery charges or Edison delivery charges. So my expectation, and I've said this many times on this particular channel, is that power purchase programs will be the main go-to adoption method of acquiring solar in 2026 and beyond. And so I recently had somebody approach us, had a Sunrun agreement. They provided us a Sunrun agreement, and I had a chance to review it. And I will articulate to you now that as I reviewed it, I got more and more hot. I felt like my ears were steaming. And primarily because I felt like there's a lot of misleading data, I'll put it to you that way, on their particular agreement. So let me start with the basics. When you do a power purchase program, it's very simple. It's a commodity. It's a very simple relationship. It's the closest, most similar relationship that you have with your utility now. So if you don't have solar and you buy energy from a utility, you buy energy at a price per kilowatt hour, your cost per kilowatt hour. Now, the utilities charge, if you use energy before 3 p.m., it's this cost. If you use the energy after 3 p.m., but before 9 p.m., it's an additional cost, a tier 2, more expensive. So the whole concept of a power purchase program is that you're buying energy, but instead of buying it from the utility, you're buying it from, a solar provider or another energy company that is providing you with a solar system. So the primary source of your energy is going to be the solar. The secondary source or fallback would be the utility. So in power purchase programs, the way in which you gauge whether or not you would want this one or that one, very similarly, always has to do with cost. And for example, let's say you need gas. Okay, you need gasoline. You're driving in a car, you need gasoline. You pull off on an intersection and there's 4 stations that you can look at, each with different pricing. How do you determine which station you go to? Well, you presume that the gas is pretty similar amongst all of them, and you just decide that you're going to go to the station that probably provides the cheapest rate for the gallon of gas you're going to buy. It's not rocket science. It's a commodity. You're going to get a cheap rate, right? So you're going to find the lowest cost per gallon and more than likely fill up there. Now, that's most people. May not be everybody. Sometimes there's brand loyalty. You get my example, though. It's a commodity. You want to find it the cheapest way you can and buy the cheapest one you have because it's substantially similar. Well, with power purchase programs, you buy energy as a cost per kilowatt hour, and those systems include battery storage, the panels, inverters, everything. So typically what we would do and suggest to a client is that because you're not buying the system, the cost of the installation has no bearing on you. It's not even something that you need to worry about. It doesn't matter whether the system costs 30 grand to install or 300 grand to install. That's an exaggeration. And very rarely, I've never seen solar cost 300 grand, but you get my point. That all you're buying is the energy that it produces, and the way they price that energy is important to you. And so it's a competitive market, right? Right now in California, the power purchase program market is a competitive market. A lot of people vying for your solar business. But with power purchase programs, it's the cost per kilowatt hour. So for example, right now in PG&E territory, Tier 1 energy, which is daytime before 3 p.m., it's about 43 cents a kilowatt hour. Tier 2 energy, which is evening time, or afternoon, 3 to 9, is usually about 62 cents a kilowatt hour. So 43 to 62 cents a kilowatt hour for that energy. Power purchase programs that we're familiar with, that we deal with right now, are delivering energy at sometimes half that, if not more than half that. So 43 to 62 cents, we're seeing often power purchase programs generate energy as a cost, what you would buy it for, at mid-20s, 23, 24, 25, 26 cents. Sometimes lower than that if you use a lot of energy. Sometimes higher than that if you use very little energy. So anyway, with power purchase programs, as a consumer, you would take a look. Okay, I'm getting 14 panels here. It's going to produce this amount of energy. Well, this other company is going to give me 14 panels there. It's going to produce this amount of energy. And so you kind of look at the line items and you come down at, okay, what are they charging me for the energy? Well, this one's going to be at 23 cents. That one's going to be at 27 cents. And as a lay person, you're going to go with the company that probably provides you the lowest rate. But here's the axe I have to grind. Here's the misleading note, okay? This is the point that initially got me frustrated. I even have sticky notes all over this thing. But so here's a Sunrun agreement, and they say year 1 flex rate is 17.9 cents a kilowatt hour. Okay, that's really low. That's a low rate. As a consumer, you would go, whoa, 17.9, and you might look at somebody else's literature, and maybe they're at 23, and you go, oh, here, this is obvious. Sunrun is clearly better than that. Here's where you're misled, though, if that's what you think. Sunrun is extracting out the cost of the battery in that cost per kilowatt hour. Most solar companies, most financed solar companies out there that provide power purchase programs, when they show you a cost per kilowatt hour, it includes the battery, includes the panels, the inverters, the cost of the installation, the battery, all of that stuff. The cost of the install, basically divided by how much energy you use, then creates the cost that you're going to pay per kilowatt hour. Now, Sunrun's being sneaky because they're subtracting out the battery out of that. So that's 17.9 cents. It's like a burger company saying the burger is going to be $6.99, but you want lettuce? That's an extra 50 cents. Oh, you want buns on either side? Well, that was just the burger. We didn't tell you that was just the burger. If you want the buns on either side, that's going to be an extra 80 cents. So they're charging $74.98 with this particular proposal I'm reviewing, charging $74.98 for the battery. So when you take the energy that they're buying at 17.9, then add to it the cost of the battery at $74.98. Stay with me. I'm going to get to a point here. On paper, it looks like the homeowners buying energy at 17.9 cents per kilowatt hour. But what they're really buying energy at is 33.8 cents. Because when you add that cost of that battery into the equation and then divide it by the amount of energy being produced and the cost that they're charging you for the whole thing, that's how you get to the 33.8 cents a kilowatt hour. So long story short, they're trying to show a rate that is almost half the cost of what they're actually charging you. It's disguised. It's subtle, but it is disguised. And I don't like that because it's misleading. The other thing that's misleading in this is they call this program a flex program. Basically stated, my particular homeowner thought their utility bill was going to be $297 based on the information that they got, the discussion that they had. They thought it was going to be $297 a month. But this particular program has a base charge. Then if you generate more energy than 878 kilowatt hours, there's additional charges to you. Now that, to my homeowner, wasn't really clearly disclosed. And so when you look at the agreement, on one side, you could have a bill of $297. You may even see that right there, $297. But in actuality, the bill could be as much as $372.83. Well, $297 and $372, those are big different numbers. And what's interesting is it's based on what the system produces. So Sunrun already knows that system is going to produce more energy than what that homeowner is targeting with that $297 bill in probably most of spring, all of summer, and a majority of fall. So in other words, this particular homeowner is going to have almost $100 bill more expense that they didn't expect because it wasn't clearly disclosed to them that this particular power purchase program has a rate for this amount of energy first and then a rate for this amount of energy second. It's very confusing, okay? And a lot of people, in my opinion, my homeowner was not informed as to how that works. Now, it doesn't end there. Okay, so let me go back a step. If you looked at a power purchase program with SolarWise, my company, and the companies that we deal with, very simply, here's how you would figure out how much you're paying. You multiply the energy that the system will produce, let's say 20,000 kilowatt hours. It's a big system, 20,000 kilowatt hours. And let's say they're charging you 20 cents a kilowatt hour. So 20,000 kilowatt hours, 20 cents. You multiply that out, it's $4,000 a year. Divide that by 12, and that will be your monthly payment. There is no tier, there is no adjustment, there's no separate battery charge. So this is a major point that I want you to understand. If you review power purchase programs, you should be able to multiply the cost that they're charging you for the energy times the total energy that the system's producing, divide that number by 12, and that equals your payment. It's that simple, okay? Just like with the utility. I bought this amount of energy at this rate, it cost me that. I bought this amount of energy at this rate, it cost me that. But it's more simple with solar, and it's more simple with power purchase programs because there should only be one rate. Sunrun's charging two different rates. They're subtracting out the battery to make it look artificially cheaper than what it actually is, to probably be a little bit more competitive. Oh, honey, look, Sunrun's at 17 cents. These guys over here with SolarWise, they're at 23 cents. But in actuality, Sunrun's actually charging you 33.8 cents in this example. So, but here's another bone I want to pick, and it frustrates me. So one of the biggest advantages of power purchase programs is something called a production guarantee. It allows you to recoup money that you would have otherwise lost. Okay, allows you to recoup money that you would have otherwise lost because the system was down or didn't produce the energy. This is kind of a check against the company not responding quickly when you've got a problem or not paying attention to the fact that the system went down for whatever reason. So I like I like production guarantees because they're a protection for my homeowner against an installer installing crappy equipment or not paying attention or not getting out there to fix something. You know, if there's a clock ticking and that's supposed to produce a certain amount of energy and the system goes down, then I want my homeowner to be compensated. Now, the reality of it is most power purchase programs work this way. If they're charging you 25 cents for the energy that you're buying from the solar system, if the solar system has a shortfall, you're entitled to that 25 cents back. That's how power purchase programs work. That's how the ones that we represent work. Here's how Sunrun's works. They're going to charge you, in my example, that 33.8 cents a kilowatt hour. And guess what? If the system doesn't produce the amount of energy that it's supposed to produce, all other power purchase programs would give you back that 33 cents for whatever that shortfall is. Sunrun is going to give you back 5 cents. They're charging you 33. They're going to give you back 5. That, to me, is a major disadvantage of their agreement. And I don't think that, so they can say they have a production guarantee. It says right there, hey, we got a production guarantee. There's a big difference between a production guarantee that would give you back the 33 cents that you paid them versus a production guarantee that would only give you back 5 cents. So here's my summary. Buyer beware. Okay? Sunrun, I believe, is creating a proposal and an agreement that leads people to believe something that isn't actually how it works. And I have a problem with that. And if you have a problem with that, then definitely reach out to us. I just want to inform, alert, and make people aware of what's going on right now in solar, and pay attention to those agreements, boy, because the fine print can be that. If you ever want a review, if you want a competitive analysis of it, we'll do that for you as part of our process. No obligation on your side. If you want to reach out, all you got to do is text YouTube to 84503. 84503. If you text YouTube to 84503, my team will be in touch, and we'll see if we can't review whatever agreement you've got going on right now with any solar provider out there. But particularly, pay attention to the Sunrun agreement. Ask questions. Pay attention to the notes that I took. Look at that. Make sure it makes sense, and make the best decision that you can for yourself. So this has been a Greybeard Talks Solar YouTube video. Thank you for watching the channel. We launch new videos here every Monday at 9 a.m. Stay charged, stay informed, keep shining, my friends. This is a place where we want you to be informed and educated. Thank you for watching the channel. I'll be back here same time, same place next week to launch another video. Greybeard.
Thanks for listening to SolarWise. Greybeard Talk Solar. Please visit our website, solarwiseco.com, to learn more. And we will see you next time on SolarWise.